Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode here at Anthology 2022 in Orlando, Florida at the Walt Disney World Dolphin and Swan, or Swan and Dolphin. I can't remember which way it goes. Resort. We are interacting with amazing anthologists, users, leaders, administrators across higher education. And the day just gets more interesting with every conversation that we have. In fact, I have now with me a guest and a guest co-host. No, not Elvin Freitas, who decided to crash the last episode. We put him on the sideline now and back in his producing role. I tried to take over producing yesterday, and he kicked me out of the site. So I'm getting back at him a little bit. But here's my guest, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta prime this right for here. She is. Ladies and gentlemen, her name is Sherry Olsen, and she's Vice Chancellor of the online division at Kaiser University. Sherry, what's happening? How are you?
I'm good. It's been exciting being here at the conference. I presented a topic on learning analytics. I was a panelist today, which was a lot of fun, and just enjoying the conference.
Well, I'm glad that you're here, and we've got a lot to talk about because we are very familiar with Kaiser University. In fact, it's one of our favorites across higher education. one of my good buddies, Robert Kaiser, Dr. Robert Kaiser, now I believe,
yes,
is a big fan of the podcast and a great contact and colleague of mine, and we communicate all the time. So shout out to Robert. But this is about you, Sherry, and you and Kaiser University. And to help me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring in my guest co-host now. Here she comes. She is absolute
fire.
Her name is Dr. Melissa Hartz, and she's Chief People Officer at Anthology.
Fire.
What's happening, Melissa? How are you?
You set me up. I don't even know how to start that. I'm doing well.
Fire.
I'm just excited to be here. And we are on fire, if you will,
yes.
With all of our topics. We just came off the panel, and Sherry did an awesome job. So we're glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you came, Melissa. You said yesterday that you were going to come and you're going to sit down and co-host with me, and here you are. That's why I say you're
fire.
All right, wow. Sherry, so let's level set for the audience. Let's assume somebody has not heard about Kaiser University before and know what you do. What do you guys do? How do you do it?
Well, we have 21 campuses around the state of Florida, from Tallahassee down to Miami. We have 2 residential campuses, one in West Palm Beach, Florida, beautiful campus, where we have students from about 27 different countries. Wow. We have a football team.
Yes,
you do.
Go
Seahawks.
And basketball, too.
Oh, basketball, wrestling, swimming.
Yeah.
We got the Leader Cup. So last year, #1 in NAIA. And so it's exciting. And then we came in second this year. So wow. Just a lot of great things going on. We also have a campus in China and one in Nicaragua.
Wow, I didn't.
Yeah.
Did I know that? I didn't. I think I knew about China, but not Nicaragua.
I'll tell Robert you didn't know that.
Okay, don't please Robert. I did know that, just so you know.
But the one in Nicaragua is also a residential campus.
Wow.
And so I've been at Kaiser. This is going on my 20th year. So I've seen a lot of change. And I remember years ago at management retreats, Dr. Kaiser said he'd always have a football team. We have a football team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew? Here, let me take you back in the day here. So way back in the day, let's say 16 or 17 years ago, you had been at Kaiser, and I was at a little for-profit college called Heritage College that was in the Florida area in Jacksonville. I think Kaiser was like right around the corner. There was one in Jacksonville.
We have one in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and so we used to go, hey, come in to Heritage, and people would stop at Kaiser and go, and I'm like, Kaiser always gets them. And there you guys are. You've grown. I think you have like somewhat like what, 25, 30,000 students.
Yeah, we have 20,000 students.
It's incredible.
And it's exciting. And we have, of course, our online division, which we have students from all over the country. Recently, we were recognized as one of the top Hispanic serving institutions in the United States.
Wow.
So we have students getting their associates, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees completely in Spanish.
That's awesome.
And it's all
wonderful.
Online. So it's exciting to see our global reach, and it just keeps getting better. I'm not bragging, but it's true.
You should, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Melissa, before I pass it to you, I have to ask you, Sherry, because Kaiser is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the largest private nonprofit university in the state of Florida. Is that?
Yeah, I believe we're #3.
Oh, okay.
So, but yes, and then
it's up there. I know you're up
and
there.
then we just got recognized #5 in the United States by U.S. World and News Reports as for social mobility. And we're proud of that because of our student population.
Yeah, online education has become more and more
Yes.
important. Melissa, over to you.
Absolutely. So, Sherry, I'm just so excited to speak to you again because we were on the panel together, and you shared a lot of comments about engagement with students. Can you speak to that a little bit more as to what Kaiser is doing and what Kaiser plans to do?
Yeah, I think student engagement, a lot of institutions talk about that, but they don't really know how to do it. And we have adult learners. So when you talk about student engagement, what do you have in place for that? Do you have a good advising? Do you train your advisors on how to advise? Engaging students, especially in the online division, you have to mirror what you offer on a campus. So, for example, you have to have a good student services department where the students can just literally virtually walk into the student services department.
Right.
All kinds of help centers, math help centers, writing help centers.
Right.
They can go into a programmatic center where they can meet with peers.
Yeah.
So what we do is we mimic what is done on a campus, but
Right.
we do it in a virtual environment. And then I think, like I talked about today as a panelist, you know, in the past before the pandemic, I think students mostly had issues more, they would say, you know, financial type issues.
Right,
I don't see as much of that anymore. It's the mental health issues I'm
Right,
seeing.
right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm seeing more stress, more anxiety with our students
Yeah.
than I've ever seen before. And I think it's just everyone says that the job market's good now, but I think it's still hard to find jobs, or students are working for companies that can't find qualified staff
Right.
because people aren't going back to school as much.
The battle
right
for
now.
talent is
Battle for
way
talent.
real.
I'm having that problem just finding some of my higher level positions.
Right.
And so students, they tell me, you know, they're working 6 days a week, you know, 15-hour a day, and then they want to put their education on hold. And then when they are stressed and they have anxiety, then they don't do well academically.
Yeah.
So having a good advisor system and even a peer mentoring, now that student has ways to feel engaged and connected to the university. And the more you do that, the more they feel connected.
Absolutely. And I respect everything that you're doing because I've done
You've been there.
right. I've done what you're doing years ago for online education. My question to you is: we're facing a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of pivoting
Mhm.
in education to keep students engaged. What do we do next? What are some tips, advice that you can give to fellow educators, fellow people in education? What tips can you give them?
I think it's making, whether it's staff, administration, faculty, availability to students when they need it. So, for example, and I did this, I want to say maybe almost 10 years ago, all my staff for the online division work a Tuesday to Saturday, Sunday to Thursday shift, a few Monday to Friday, and then everybody has two late nights. The reason why we did that is I remember I was the dean at the time, and somebody called and said, "Oh my gosh, I talked to a dean on a Sunday."
Yeah.
You know, or I talked to a financial aid officer, or because students need us when they need us.
Right.
And a lot of times my daughter went to a very traditional university, and one time I said, go find the dean. No, mom, you have to make an appointment. I don't even know where the office is.
Right.
You just can't go and talk to a dean.
Cumbersome.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for us, Kaiser's mission really, and it's very simple. It's students first. So if you ask a front desk person, you ask somebody in any department, everybody knows that.
Yes.
And so everything we do is based on the students' needs. So if I think of a lot of higher educations have more of that philosophy, that it is about the students.
Right.
And then you also have to treat your faculty well. Like I believe in that too.
Right.
So our faculty are all over the world. We have about 400 faculty, and we provide robust training. We provide support. They get a peer when they start teaching for us.
That's
they can't
awesome.
even teach online for us unless they go through a month-long training.
Right.
Because the pedagogy of teaching online is so different than a face-to-face
Absolutely.
classroom.
You have
So-
to give them support.
Let me
Yeah.
just say, so let me get this straight, Sherry. Are you saying that online students need support on the weekends?
They do.
I mean,
is that the
Isn't
craziest
that
you've
thing?
blown-
mind-boggling?
you
Just
blow
mind-boggling.
because you know in the reason am I being facetious? No,
Not at all.
No, not at all. So many schools are going online.
Yes.
So many schools are offering online programs, and it's like, oh, we're going to do this Monday through Friday.
And then leave at 2 on a Friday.
Yeah, leave it to.
Yep.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh don't. Oh.
But I
Yeah.
think Sherry hit something really on the point, on the head here. She said you have to train faculty because
Yes.
it's not just putting courses online. They
Nope.
have to be prepared to teach in that environment.
Right.
I think that's huge,
Right.
right? And I think that's where we are in education. It's not just slapping courses online and trying to get everybody
Yep.
in the online environment, but it's really the pedagogy right now.
And I
100%.
Oh,
That's
I
my
like
disruptive agreement.
I
call
love
that
it.
disruptive agreement.
Well, and a trend that I am seeing too is I don't know if you knew this, but Kaiser, we partner with a company called Acadian. So we're servicing probably over 80 universities around the United States where they put their students in our online classes because they just don't, either they don't have online, they don't have a way to offer the courses when the students need them, and so they have gaps.
Yeah.
So a student close to graduation, what if they need that last class, but it's not offered for a year from now?
Right.
So I also think if institutions partnered more
Mm-hmm.
to help students in general, where it's not that so competitive environment.
Mm.
Right.
And then also we have 2 partners in China that we kind of do the same thing. So I think post pandemic and even during the pandemic opened that up a lot more. Even I'm seeing our own students with our 21 campuses. So for example, students have a choice. When they go to Kaiser, they can do some hybrid, some fully online, some face-to-face. And think about it. You've got a student at the Jacksonville campus,
Yep.
right, who lost childcare. Well, typically they're going to leave, but they can take an online course, stay in school, and graduate on time.
Yep.
So it's that accessibility that students need in this environment. Because is there a traditional student anymore?
No.
Yeah, no, there is not.
Mm-mm.
There's just like the blending of student profiles, right?
Right.
And it's really interesting. Lisa, I'm like dominating this issue. I'm dominating the conversation. You
It's
want to
all
interrupt me
good.
more?
I think I do.
You
No,
should-
she wants
you
to
should.
press your buttons.
Yeah, I do.
Well-
I really
Oh, okay.
not
Maybe
literally.
you can delete that.
Fire.
There you
Um,
go.
You know, the super interesting part, and you would know this too. And I had a guest here just a little while ago, and I said the same thing. Higher ed's not like we're just competing against ourselves anymore.
Right.
We're competing against this public perception or this
Yes.
belief that higher ed has no value, or the alternative. You know, you can become Elon Musk, and you
And
can
that's it.
count on your hands how many Elon Musks there are,
Right.
and kids think that, or adults think that, you know, I'm gonna get, and it's and I gave this example in a talk. I was it's like not like sneakers, right? If you have a sneaker product, it's not like you go, you know what, I'm not going to buy sneakers anymore. Nobody's using them. They don't have value.
Right,
No,
right.
right. But higher ed is facing that. I
Mhm.
mean, how do you deal with that at Kaiser? And how does Anthology help you gain insights into what people want and how to serve them better?
You know, that's such a good question because what we do is we take information from Anthology student and our LMS and we put it into dashboards so that we can get a feel for where the students are going. And you know, Kaiser, we're a career focused institution.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of liberal arts degrees, but our students, we're preparing them for careers. And I think you made a really good point about the workforce. And you know, there's been a decline in enrollments for a lot of institutions.
Yep.
And I think people, they're making more minimum wage,
Mhm.
right? But what's going to happen to those students in a year or two from now? No degree. Well, what kind of salary are you looking at? How can they sustain maybe making more now?
Yeah.
But into the future as they get older. So these are some of the things that we need to talk to students about. And I think that you know, we need to focus more on those career focused degrees because I hear from employers, you know, they don't have, they might have the book knowledge, but where's the skills?
Right.
And that's something that I'm proud that Kaiser does.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Melissa?
Well, I was just listening to you talk about the skills. So soft skills are something that's
Yep.
really important too.
Mhm.
How does Kaiser prepare students for that as well?
Yeah, that's kind of incorporated throughout their whole program. And so our student services departments help a lot with that. It's worked into the curriculum.
Right.
Because that's so important. I'll just give a good example. Is one of the degrees I do have online. It's a medical assisting degree, and especially during the pandemic. But I have students all over the country, and they get clinical sites all over the United States. And most times, that site will hire the student because they're learning and they're getting the skills way before even they graduate. And it's the
Yeah,
same.
why hire somebody new when you're
Right.
onboarding
We already
somebody?
know. And the same for our nurses.
Yeah.
We're one of the top providers of nurses in the state of Florida. So we're very proud of our students, because what we hear, and I tell you what, I'll go to Cleveland Clinic or, in Fort Lauderdale, and I always say, well, where did you go to school?
Right,
More
right.
often than not, they say Kaiser
Well,
is where,
isn't that something?
yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then also I'm just proud of, our master's and doctoral degrees. Those are really growing.
Absolutely, especially
Mhm.
to have a doctoral degree in Spanish. I mean, that's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes,
That is
and it's
awesome.
interesting. We do have students that are getting their degree in Latin America, but quite a few in Puerto Rico. So
Wow.
yeah, and actually this week it's residency, and so we had students from our Latin division coming from all over.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If we could ask that question again from that we had at the panel about looking into the future. So, do you have a sound effect for a crystal ball? That's what we need. Right?
How about this?
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
That
I don't know. I
works.
think
That
his
works.
favorite
me
button
tell
is fire.
I do
I
like
don't
fire.
know.
Look into the future, Sherry.
I
Tell
like
me.
that. I like that.
Ooh.
Yes.
That is
Let's
good.
look into the future, right? So, in the future, what do you see, and how can we prepare students for what the future is going to look like? What do you see in terms of education and getting our students ready for the future?
I think that, online education is here to stay,
Yeah.
and it has to be a combination, even for K through 12, right?
Nailed it.
But making sure that the courses themselves are full of adaptive learning software, because that's what I see is a lot of times, a student will take a class, they have I don't know, 20 chapter textbook, but I think, and I hate to say this, but textbooks I think are passe. I think it's
Textbooks
more,
and online education.
I know. Right?
Let's think about
Jumbo
that.
shrimp.
Yeah, that was good, but I know that students do really well with when they're interacting with content that adapts to their learning. So if they're practicing a quiz or practicing a concept, then it keeps getting back to that student based on their needs, not some professor just giving a lecture,
Yep.
saying have at it, and not knowing why a student's not doing well. So I think some of that. We're also looking at adding augmented reality
Right.
and some virtual reality is what we want to start looking into. And I already have two of my instructional designers that are testing that out, because
We
students
push
want
the
that
limits
engagement.
of science and technology.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
I know. I got a button for everything.
Yes, I love it. I'm jealous because I really want that button panel. But
So, what do you, Sherry? What are you hoping to take away from the Anthology User Conference here in Orlando? Like, what's your hope for? You had yesterday. You've got half a day today, tomorrow, and you leave here. What makes a successful conference for you? What are the big takeaways you're hoping for?
For me, I think my big takeaways is Anthology. Sitting with I'm going to sit with analysts tomorrow. I sat with some people today, listening to our needs. I think that was huge, because we've been an Anthology client, which was, web client, campus management for forever, over 20 something years.
Yeah.
Blackboard we've had since 2012. So now that the two are merged, that I was a little nervous there, but seeing some of the sessions, seeing what the top people like Jim Milton talked about, seeing that you are looking at a whole suite. Right now we're going to pilot Engage, which is a CRM from technology. So we'll have the LMS, the CRM, and the SIS. But looking forward to learning
The whole alphabet soup.
the whole alphabet soup.
yeah.
Yes, I don't know if you have an alphabet soup button, but so that surprised me. It really did, because when I heard about the merge, it was, I'm like, now
Any
what?
merger causes some level of
Yes,
disruption.
Yes.
And you go, uh-oh.
What about my analytics product? What
Yep.
about this? But now that I've been talking to people like Dr. Hartz, and I am going to say Dr. Hartz, is just learning that you guys are listening to us
Yes.
as long-term clients.
But it's the same, and you're listening to students. So if you're
Yes.
listening to students, and we're also listening to students, we're all in that same conversation.
Yes,
to
which is great.
move learning forward. So
Yeah.
that's what's important.
We're going to go ahead and need to call you the Dr. Queen of.
The Dr.
The
Queen, of Fire.
Queen of Hearts? Queen of...
Oh, you got that metaphor going on there.
I'm sure it's not the first time you ever heard that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is, I have to tell you, this is been my favorite episode, dare I say it, because of the great personalities that I've had here. Sherry, of course, we love Kaiser and the work that you guys do
Thank you.
in continuing to grow in Florida. Melissa, you're like my new best friend. We got an open hot mic for you here now.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
A fire mic.
We got a mic full of fire now, and she can sit down anytime she wants
That's
to come
a woo-woo
co-host with me.
right there.
You know,
Fire.
nobody said I'm exactly on time with the sound effects, so there was sometimes 2 or 3 seconds off.
Fire.
But we appreciate you both, ladies and gentlemen. My guest, the future Dr. Sherry Olsen. She's Vice Chancellor of the Online Division at Kaiser University. And of course, my co-host, Dr. Melissa Queen of Hearts. She's Chief People Officer at Anthology. Melissa, I said that right? I got to get your name right. Thank you, ladies. Did you have a good
Thank
EdUp
you.
experience
We
today?
had so much fun. I had fun.
Yes,
I
I'm
was
having fun.
yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So, and you're great.
Well,
So,
thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you just EdUp'd